Hello guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Today I am going to tell you other story, The Haunted Hotel. Liam Hayes was a travel writer known for his blog Wanderlust Chronicles, where he documented his adventures in the world's most mysterious and remote places. After a particularly exhausting year filled with deadlines, personal setbacks, and a recent breakup, Liam needed a break. He craved solitude and a chance to gather his thoughts far away from the noise of the city. That's when he stumbled upon the Crescent Hotel, an old Victorian mansion-turned-boutique hotel hidden away in the foggy hills of a small town. It seemed like the perfect escape, quiet, remote, and steeped in history. Liam arrived at the Crescent Hotel on a dreary afternoon. The sky was heavy with rain, and a thick mist wrapped around the building, giving it a ghostly appearance. The hotel, though grand, looked worn by time. Its once bright white walls had faded to a dull gray, and the large, arched windows appeared like dark, hollow eyes watching his every move. As Liam approached the front steps, he felt a sudden chill, as if the building itself exhaled a cold and welcoming breath. The lobby was dimly lit, with a large chandelier hanging from the ceiling, its crystals coated with dust. The air was stale, carrying the faint scent of old wood and something else, something faintly sweet yet unsettling. Liam noticed a few guests sitting in the lounge area, each lost in their own world, staring blankly ahead. At the front desk stood an elderly woman with silver hair neatly pinned back and sharp blue eyes that seemed to pierce right through him. "Welcome to the Crescent Hotel," she said with a polite yet hollow smile. "I'm Margaret, the manager. You must be Mr. Hayes." "Yes, that's me," Liam replied, feeling slightly unnerved by her gaze. He handed over his booking confirmation, and she slid a tarnished brass key across the counter. "You're in room 303. It's one of our quieter rooms with a lovely view of the courtyard," Margaret said, though her expression suggested otherwise. "If you need anything, just let us know, but be mindful of the hotel's rules. We like to keep things orderly." Liam nodded, not giving her words much thought, and made his way to the room. The hotel's corridors were dim, lined with worn red carpets and faded wallpaper that peeled at the edges. Portraits of stern-looking individuals from the past lined the walls, their eyes seeming to follow Liam's every move. As he reached room 303, he inserted the key into the lock. The door creaked open, revealing a modest but charming space with vintage furniture, a large canopy bed, and a window that did indeed overlook the courtyard. In packing his things, Liam noticed something odd: a large, ornate mirror hanging on the wall opposite the bed. The glass was slightly warped, giving off an unsettling reflection of the room. As Liam stared into it, he thought he saw a flicker of movement behind him, but when he turned, the room was empty. Dismissing it as his imagination, he unpacked his laptop, intending to start writing. That night, Liam struggled to sleep. The room felt colder than it should have been, and he kept hearing faint whispers that seemed to come from the walls. At first, he chalked it up to the wind, but the whispers grew louder, forming faint, unintelligible words that sent shivers down his spine. Round 2 a.m., he woke abruptly to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. They were slow and deliberate, like someone pacing back and forth outside his door. Liam sat up, listening intently. The footsteps stopped, and a soft knock echoed through the silence. He hesitated, debating whether to answer, but when he opened the door, the hallway was empty. Confused and unnerved, Liam closed the door and locked it. The whispers continued, growing louder, now clearly coming from the mirror. Approaching the mirror cautiously, Liam noticed something peculiar. His reflection didn't quite match his movements. It lagged behind, like a delayed video feed, and his face appeared slightly distorted, with eyes that looked darker and emptier than his own. Then, the reflection smiled a sinister, twisted grin that Liam knew he hadn't made. He stumbled back, heart pounding, and the reflection returned to normal. The next morning, Liam decided to explore the hotel, hoping to distract himself from the unsettling events of the night before. The other guests seemed distant, lost in their own thoughts, and barely acknowledged his presence. As he wandered, he found a library filled with dusty old books and records of the hotel's history. One book, in particular, caught his attention, a guest ledger from the 1920s. Flipping through the pages, Liam noticed a disturbing pattern. Several guests had checked in but never checked out. Their names were crossed out with bold red ink, and there were no records of their departure. Intrigued and horrified, Liam continued reading about the hotel's past. It had once been a sanatorium, a place where the wealthy sent their troubled relatives to be treated for various ailments, both real and imagined. Many patients had died within its walls, and there were rumors of cruel experiments conducted by a deranged doctor obsessed with capturing the soul's final moments. As Liam read further, he stumbled upon a section about room 303. It was notorious for strange occurrences, guests reporting flickering lights, cold spots, and whispers in the dark. Some claimed to see figures in the mirror that didn't belong to them. The more he read, the clearer it became. The Crescent Hotel was more than just haunted, it was a trap, feeding off the fears and souls of its guests. Liam returned to his room, trying to process everything he had learned. The mirror seemed to loom larger, its presence dominating the room. He avoided looking directly at it, but he could feel its pull. That night, the whispers returned, clearer and more insistent. They weren't just random murmurs, they were calling his name. Desperate for answers, Liam decided to confront the source. He stood before the mirror, staring into his distorted reflection. "What do you want?" he demanded, his voice trembling. The reflection smirked, and in a voice that wasn't quite his own, it replied, "To stay." Suddenly, the room's temperature plummeted. The lights flickered, and the reflection's face began to morph, showing flashes of past guests, fearful, lost souls trapped within the glass. Liam tried to look away, but he was frozen in place, compelled to watch as the mirror showed him things, moments of his life, his regrets, his deepest fears. The reflection taunted him with visions of his failures, whispering that he was no different from the others who had been lured into the hotel's web. Panicking, Liam reached for his phone, hoping to record what was happening, but the device flickered and died in his hand. The whispers grew louder, the mirror's surface rippling like water. Without warning, a cold, unseen force pulled Liam toward the glass. He fought against it, but his reflection's hand reached out, gripping his wrist with an icy touch that sent shockwaves through his body. He felt himself being drawn in, his vision blurring as the world around him twisted and warped. With a final, desperate effort, Liam wrenched himself free and stumbled backward, crashing into the bed. The mirror's surface stilled, and the whispers ceased, leaving only silence. Gasping for breath, Liam grabbed his things and fled the room, not daring to look back. Downstairs, he found Margaret at the front desk, her expression as unreadable as ever. "Leaving so soon?" she asked, her voice dripping with feigned concern. Liam didn't respond. He tossed the key onto the counter and bolted out the door into the rainy night. As he drove away, he glanced back at the hotel one last time. Through the fog, he saw a figure standing at his room's window, watching him go, a figure that looked just like him, smiling a twisted, knowing smile. Liam never wrote about his stay at the Crescent Hotel. The memories lingered, haunting him like a shadow he couldn't escape. He tried to forget, but every now and then, he'd catch a glimpse of his reflection in a window or mirror, and for a split second, it would smile back at him, a sinister reminder of the night he nearly became part of the haunted hotel's twisted collection.